Well, got my second duck. Just set up duck decoys, and been tracking. I missed 2 mallards. Got in there just so they're flying away, but went over to the second pond and found this guy swimming around. He dove down, and right when I had a chance, he popped up and I shot it. And this duck has teeth. He's not really well, he's in the duck family. I got. So yeah, sorry, just got interrupted there. So, got basically just light load bird shot. And what we're gonna do, I'm just talking here. So as you see, I'm plucking the duck, getting it ready to clean it. This is the duck that we shot in the pond. And pretty much we're just plucking feathers, trying to gather as much of this down and feather as we can, just stick it in the bag, just for future projects. Makes good for all sorts of things, including just arts and crafts. But you can also use it for insulation, making pillows and whatnot. So once I get most of these feathers off, it'll be clean enough that I can actually gut it without getting guts all over the feathers and stuff. Whoops. And as my friend and I were just talking about, we were saying how much easier duck is to pluck compared to chicken. And I also said grouse, but he's had easier experiences with grouse than I have, I guess, because my grouse was a bit of a bitch without blanching in water. But I haven't even dipped this duck, and I would say the equivalent to plucking it is as if you took a chicken and you dipped it in boiling water and then started plucking it. So, and we haven't dipped this yet, so it's that easy. When we pluck it and dip it in boiling water, I'm sure all I have to do is rub my hand over that, and all the quills and feathers will just fall right out. So yeah, I guess I'll start cleaning it. I think I got enough of some of the feather off now. I'll get the wings off later. I mean, of course, hunting law, when you're storing your duck, you are supposed to keep one of the wings. But we're not worried about that right now. We're going to eat this duck real soon. And it's already been tagged and bagged. So I don't know if this is the right kind of knife to use, but I'm going to use it anyway. Just trying to get it to cut a little X around the butt, more or less. And you want to do this pretty much right away, or the longer you do it, the more it stinks. Yeah, the bird shot went through some of the gut here, so it's already a little torn up. Okay, I'm going to slit the throat here. It's actually a deer knife and not a duck knife. But there, we got it off. Now, should just pull out. Got the kidneys, I think. No, that's a piece of liver. Got the stomach and intestines. That looks like maybe part of its heart. Oh no, there's its heart, I feel it. Right up in here. There's the heart. And pretty much empty. Oh, there's something else up here. Probably a piece of lung or something. Try to get that out, and then we'll have to cut out the gall. Ew. Yeah, it looks like the liver got shot to shit. So, right in here, you make your nice cut. Just let some air in. And sometimes there's a fatty complexion on some birds you want to get out that's in here. This doesn't seem to have one. Doesn't feel like there's a big fatty bulbular. Yeah, it doesn't have one, so we're okay. So I think it's cleaned. So we're just going to dip her in some boiling water and clean out the inside, flush it out, and then we'll finish taking off all the feathers and we got ourselves a duck. So, we're just waiting for the water to boil. And also, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, we've rinsed the duck out. It's being washed, so we just have to dip it in boiling water to get the rest of the feathers off, and we'll just hang it up and let it hang for a good 24 hours just outside because the air is cool here. So yeah, let me just, while we're waiting, I'll show you basically what we got set up to catch these ducks here. So here we are with the large pond here. And that canoe's there so we can get to the ducks if we have to. These are just decoys that we put out, or I should say I did. Those 3 are on string and they rotate around that floater, and basically they replicate them swimming around. They actually move around quite a bit and they look quite convincing. And then the farther one, far back there, is anchored to the ground, along with the hen over here that's anchored to the ground. So yeah, the wind doesn't really take them anywhere. The wind takes those 3 just around in a circle type thing, and they change positions. And came up here earlier and I found 2 mallards swimming around with them, and they flew right over my head, and I didn't have a very good shot on them that I actually missed. So that's all right. So they'll be back. And Elia, the dog here, she really thinks that these are real ducks, so she's very into hanging out here and keeping an eye on them. It's pretty funny actually. She actually thinks that these ducks are real. So that just shows how convincing they are. In fact, they fool me. I come out here sometimes in the corner of my eye and I think there's an extra duck out here, which of course it's not. It's just the ones I put. But today there were 2 mallards and I just laid these out last night, so they work really well. Now I'll just show you the other pond. That's where I got the duck. Yeah, I'll show you what's going on here. So here you go, another decoy duck. This is where I shot the duck. We got fish in these ponds, and the duck I caught was definitely a fish-eating duck. So in this case, it's wildlife. It's protection of domestic animals, basically. The duck was in here and basically eating up the fish and being a pest. So, and I mean, for all fairness to the duck, that's what the duck's nature is to do. So it's not any animosity towards the duck. It's just that we don't want it in here, and if it doubles up as food, great. So that's the reason I did end up taking it. He dove down just as I took the shot. I did think I missed, and when he came up, he was mortally wounded and basically died pretty shortly after. So it was an easy catch. He just swam straight over to the point there, and that's where he died. So he just was able to pick him up off the side. I didn't even have to get the canoe out. So it made it pretty easy. Here's our decoy. He's fastened to the ground. These ponds, both of them are about 35 feet deep, so lots of koi and lots of goldfish in these ponds, along with tadpoles and salamanders and newts and all sorts of other cool little aquatic creatures. We got turtles in here as well. So yeah, anyway, I got my second duck of the year. I just found a raccoon skull just laying in the grass. Huh. There we are. So we're just waiting for the water to boil. We'll dip this duck. So we're back at the duck. Water's almost ready. So just explain the necessity of why you cut it open like this. You just cut I say an X because sometimes you'll want to go across, but generally speaking it's just a slit. And you cut from sternum to the edge of the butt, and you pull your guts out. And the reason you cut the head off is that the esophagus and all that is attached to your guts, and it just makes it a lot easier to pull out. And then you open this up. Sometimes there's a gull in here that's a fatty deposit. You'll want to get that out, but this duck didn't have one. So it was clean, but you also want to open that up anyway. It lets air in, especially when you're hanging it, and you're less likely to have things go bad and rotten. It just helps it breathe a bit better, so when you're curing your meat, it just it all cures evenly. So yeah, there's really not much plucking to be done left. These wing feathers are a little tight in there, so that's why I want to just blanch this in some warm water. It'll just help lift them out a little easier. And the boiling water also sterilizes the skin of the duck a little bit. We did clean it. We got a lot of the feces maybe on top, things like that. There's bacteria. Just makes things a little more sterile. So I didn't put it down back where we did all our gutting, just because of that exact same reason. Keep it sterile. I moved it over to my cleaning bench. This is the blanch where we blanched it. And then yeah, we'll be basically getting this duck ready to hang, and we'll be eating it probably tomorrow. So we've got our hot water here and our duck. Sorry, I'm just rolling up my sleeves. So we're just going to take our duck, we're going to dip her in there as quick as holding it. Ouch, that's fucking hot. So you just want to let it sit in there for a few seconds. I usually count to 30 or 40. 30 to 40 seconds usually is good. What this does is it opens up the feather follicles a bit more, if that's what they're called, and helps release the pores that are holding the feathers in. The feathers are pretty much like a quill. They're not like fur at all. It's more like a porcupine quill. Within on the ends of it are little hairs that make up the feather, and the quills are hard to say, but yeah, there's like a, when they're fresh, you'll see that there's like almost a marrow or a blood vessel inside it. So the feathers are just as alive as the bird is. So whatever's holding them in is really tight. When you boil it, it just makes it all that much easier to come off. Now these feathers are just falling out. So we can pull the duck out. We don't want to cook the duck, so we'll bring it out, and now we just finish plucking. I'm just going to set this up so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Hopefully we can, there. So you can just see now, I just rub my hands over it, and oops, sorry about that. There, okay. So yeah, I'm just rubbing my hands, and if it starts to tighten up again and the feathers are difficult, just dip it in the hot water one more time. But with this size of duck, it should not take very long to get these feathers out. So just pulling them out. At this point, when the feathers are so wet, I don't bother keeping them. I try and get as many dry feathers as I can for the art projects. And I mean, you could dry these out. I just find it's not really worth my time. So, I mean, this is a small duck. It's not going to be a huge feast off it, but it's still dinner. As far as food goes, I mean, this is a meal. So, just cleaning off the rest of these little feathers, and yeah, I just find the more feathers you get off just when you cook it, the better product you have in the end. Nobody wants to be eating feathers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating a bit of feather. It's not going to harm you in any way. It's just, who wants to eat hair? And it's the same thing. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to eat fur on the, when you get fur in your deer, it's just, I don't know. It's not the nicest. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just all, do you want to eat it, right? So, yeah, I broke the wing here with some bird shot. Now when you eat these after shooting with, now most people know this, but when you're hunting with bird shot and cooking with game bird, you really need to be careful where you chew and eating, because there could be steel shot in there. In this case it'd be steel. If you're using lead, that's even worse, but you don't want to be eating it or breaking your teeth on it. So you got to really chew gently if you're eating game animal. That goes for rabbit too. Anything that's been taken with a shotgun, pretty much, with bird shot, or even buck probably, you gotta sometimes worry about that. So, ooh, that's fucking hot. Now watch out about scalding your hands. This isn't actually boiling water, it's just really hot water. So I did that so I don't scald my bird or myself when I'm doing this. But of course, the hotter the water is, the better it works for feather removal. But I've almost got this this bird cleaned. We got all the guts removed. I showed you that. That was real quick and simple. Yeah, duck this size. I mean, my opinion as far as hunting goes, it's so much better to go for small game, because just the time to make it, to process it, to eat it is so much. You get so much more out of it. Well, I shouldn't say you get so much more out of it. That's not the right way to say it. What it is, it's just less time, easier to do, and faster to when you're actually eating it. I can skin and prepare a deer not in a very long time at all, so for me it's worthwhile to take a deer, but if I were to take a moose, it wouldn't be worthwhile for me. It's too big. I need a 6-man team just to get the moose out, let alone, you know, gutting it and cleaning it. I mean, that's a huge job. So that's what I like about small game. Just really simple to prepare. But yeah, this is going to be a great little meal here. I mean, if I was going to rely on duck, this will definitely do the job. Now the legs are like hummingbird legs. You're not going to get these big drumsticks that you get off of other ducks and whatnot. Same goes for the wings. But that breast meat is pretty good. And as you can see, the bird shot, I did get it a bit. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 definitely pellets that have gone into the breast. There's another one right in the wing, and it came out there. There's another one there. So that looks like 6 right there. I hit him in the head a bunch too. So that was the kill, was the head shot. But I think I tore the liver apart as well, which of course helped with the kill. But there you go, a nice clean duck. I'm just going to rinse this off in the sink, and I'll show you the finished product. Well, we're done there, and now we're over here. Duck is nicely cleaned and plucked, pretty much ready to go in the oven, but we're not doing that. We're going to hang it. I'm going to hang it in the fridge. I could hang it out here. It's totally cool enough. The only thing I worry about is we got some predators at nighttime, things like raccoons. We do have hawks and birds and other raptors that might actually take advantage of it, whether it's hanging or not, and take it. So for that, I'm just going to hang it in my fridge. So I'm just going to string up its legs and hang it on a wire. I'll show you how. Okay, so what I have here is 2 pieces of 14 gauge copper wire. And what we're going to do here is, I just got to set it up so you guys can see what I'm doing, is you go right in here where the tendon is, right between the 2 bones, and you poke it through, and you do the same here on this side. This bird's got a funny leg, but there we go, we got it through. And just fold her over, and fold her over. And you can just loop her around a couple times, but you could have used that as a hook if you wanted, but I just like to do it this way, where I put a hook through here and make a hook, and then we hang it in the fridge, just like so. And we'll bring her in, open up our fridge. Whoops. Fridge is on. I'm just going to lower a couple of these shelves. Whoops. I think I'm just going to take these shelves right out now. Now we put our plate in to catch the drippings, because you don't really want it all over the inside of the fridge. And voila. Duck is hanging, and we'll just close this up. And we'll just let that sit in there overnight. And tomorrow I'll be cooking up duck. Well, here's the setup, Remington 870 Express, and I don't recommend this setup for duck hunting. I did use it, it did work for one, but however the two mallards that flew over my head in the pond that I showed you earlier, they flew like right over my head and I completely missed. And the reason for that was I had too much spread. Probably all my pellets went around. If I hit the duck, it wasn't enough to bring it down. It just kept going. So I would recommend using a longer barrel, probably something with a modified choke or full choke. It gets you a tighter pattern, you'll do more damage. That's where I fucked up. Reason I didn't have it on was I've got this just set up for my basic all-round defense and not for hunting. But ducks were out there and it's what I had to grab, so that's what I went out with. But if I had more time, and in the future I'm probably going to change out right now, is put my longer barrel on. They'll just make it better for hunting. But I still got my duck, so I'm not saying it didn't work. It just didn't work as well as I wanted it to. But it still did work. But yeah, I like the short barrel for a whole bunch of reasons. That's why I keep it on. But just for some things, it just doesn't do. And when you're trying to take things out of basically out of the air when they're flying, the longer barrel is so much better for that. I don't use this setup for trap shooting, and as far as duck hunting, trap shooting is pretty much training for duck hunting, so it's best to go with a similar setup, and of course that would be the longer barrel with the modified choke. Anyway, I think that's enough on this. That is this was the duck gun for today, and I highly recommend not to go out with this kind of setup, like I said. But anyway, this is what I had, and it worked. And, oh, by the way, that duck I got technically isn't a duck. It's a, I gotta look it up in the book again, but I think it's a grebe, which is still fine for eating, but you want to use a sea duck recipe for them. They're a fish eater, so they're gonna taste a little bit like fish. They're not as greasy as the mallard is, and not as, I shouldn't say it's not as tasty. They're just a different taste. They're still very good. But yeah, that duck had, or I keep calling it a duck. It's not a duck. I think it's a grebe. They're basically in the cormorant family. They have they got teeth. They're beak with teeth on them. So that's for catching fish and things like that. They're sort of very similar to a kingfisher and similar to a cormorant, sort of in between the two, but they're still a diving duck. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much the information I can give you on that. They are a huntable species. They are good for eating, but they're just a very small duck. Well, they're a very small water fowl. I don't think duck is technically the right word, but they are very similar to a duck.